Hey, this is Dan Lehman from AutomationHelpers.com, and today we want to talk about how we can build a client portal inside of SmartSuite. Now, many SmartSuite users are really excited about the introduction of third-party portals, such as Software, which has been a big player in the space for the past couple of years, as they've provided integrations with Airtable, as well as a newcomer to the space, Easy Portal, which is really designing their experience around the needs of SmartSuite users. But that all being said, oftentimes when I hear the requirements coming from different SmartSuite users in the community, really what they're looking for is not necessarily even a third-party integration that they need. There's a lot of functionality that we can do inside of SmartSuite natively. Now, whether you create a portal inside of SmartSuite to help you temporarily while you're waiting for the third-party solutions to become available, or you build it and you decide, hey, this works for me long-term, in this video, we're going to discuss some of the options and best practices around designing this portal to meet the needs of you and your clients. So to kick things off, I'm inside of SmartSuite in a solution. This is a project management example, but of course, we're not stuck to any particular industry. This could work in any number of use cases. And you can see that we have a number of different apps already across the top. And this is something that we want to pare down for the actual clients because they don't need to know the full goings on of everything that we're doing internally in the business. But we do want to be able to provide access to our clients to be able to see their invoices and their current tasks and be able to really get a high level picture of what we're doing for them on this project. Now, the way that we manage access to this, I think is a best practice, is typically by using guest access. Now, I've created another video on this in the past, so if you're not familiar with guest access, I recommend that you check out that video. But the idea behind it is that we can create any number of unlimited guest accounts where really it's a read-only license to be able to see the data inside the system where they can see records that are assigned to them. So this doesn't cost you anything additional. It's a great feature that SmartSuite has built, but it is limited from the standpoint that you can't be creating tasks or be updating the data in these tasks or different apps that we have if you are indeed a guest access user. And that's something we'll talk a little bit more about as well. Now, when I was initially introduced to SmartSuite, I was a little bit concerned about that setup because I thought, okay, well, if I have my assigned to field, or in this case, I'm the owner of the task, since I'm the one doing the work, I don't want to get confused and then have my clients who need guest access and have everybody kind of jumbled together. And this is where it's really helpful, the different kinds of field types that we have available inside of SmartSuite. So what you can actually do is you can always add an additional field, and there's an assigned to field type, and you can actually create multiples of these. You're not restricted to just a single assigned to field inside of the system. So I've got my main owner or assigned to, which is this is the person doing the work. This is me internally or someone on my team. But then I've created an additional field for that guest access. So I can identify which users are going to be able to see it, even though they're not assigned the task. Now, if they were assigned the task, like maybe I was waiting on some feedback from a client, I could also use the owner to assign it to the guest. But in this case, I really want to keep these two things separate. The next thing we want to do is be able to group the information together that we want our clients to be able to see. And we're going to do that by creating a dashboard. Now, the nice thing about dashboards is they're just a view, and these can live really in any app that you want or even in any solution because you can bring data together from multiple solutions and from multiple apps because SmartSuite makes everything really configurable that way. Now, what I started off initially doing was I put this on the projects here, and I created a new view, and I made that a client dashboard. So I opened this up, and this is actually an earlier version that I was working on. But what I started to think about was, if I'm a client and I really can't update everything, and in fact, as the business owner, I don't want them to update everything, and I don't want them to get confused because if we see, what is this, 7, 8 different apps across the top, that seems a little bit overwhelming in terms of what I'm looking at. So what I decided to do instead was create a much more simplified version of this. And what I did was I actually created a brand new solution and just called it Client Portal. And from here, I created the actual client dashboard, even though it's pulling data from the other solution, because now when our guest or our client logs in and they see this, they're not going to be confronted by all of these apps and wonder, where do I click? What do I do here? Why am I not seeing any records that are a part of this? That's just a confusing experience. So I think as a best practice, it's nice just to pare this down and have a dedicated solution with a dedicated app for the client portal. In here, you've got lots of different options. And I'm not going to go into everything because, of course, we could do a whole video just on building a dashboard. But I want to give you an idea of what I'm doing for clients and eventually what I'll roll out to my own clients as well. I think it's important to have some kind of introduction about what this client portal is, just so that they're reminded about what you can do. So we've got the ability to have some text here. This is essentially a Smart Doc. So we've got the ability to edit that as well if you want to have links or other things to display out. Now, aside from that, I'm mostly using grids to be able to display the kinds of information that we need. I've got a pie chart here to be able to see the tasks and their current completion. So if we're working on a complex project, they can get an idea of where we're at. And you can add lots of different charts that might be relevant to you. Down here, this is where we can see our project tasks. Right now, because I'm an admin and I'm logged in, I'm seeing all of the records that we have. But when the client is logged in, they're only going to see the subset of records that they need access to. So this is kind of a lot going on here, but you can see we've got these ones where Greg Guest is assigned. And when Greg logs in, he's just going to see those 3 or 4 tasks that we have. So project tasks is going to be our kind of main area that we're going to see our existing tasks. Down here, we also have invoices. This is a popular question that comes up a lot, is like, if we're invoicing people, how can we let them download documents that we have? And so we've got PDF documents. And the great part is, even though this is read only, they're going to be able to click on that document, download it. So if you have anything for tax purposes, bookkeeping, they can see all of those invoices, and you don't have to worry about constantly sending them out via email after they've already been paid. Instead, you can just keep that here in the portal. And then the other thing I want to talk about is the idea that we could actually create the ability to request something. And the reason I mention this is because of guest access, we can't update or create those records, but what we could do is create a new form. And in that form, we could have the users then create records, which is happening anonymously, essentially, right? Because they've got a form and they can submit data. So what I did for that, just to show you real quick, if I go back to my other solution, is I put this on the Tasks app here, and I created a task request form. If I open that up, of course, you can add which fields that you want to enable for your customers to be able to see. But then I shared that form, I grabbed the embed code, and then back on my actual portal here, then I dropped the embed code in here. So if I go to my settings, I just copied and pasted in the embed HTML. And then rather than having to send yet another link and, hey, clients, bookmark this additionally, we can just embed this inside of our dashboard. And there's so much power here. This is where I think I could create another handful of videos. If you've seen some of my previous videos, I've talked about where we can use a form submission to create multiple record types like a contact or an account. We could use the same kind of logic to say, maybe they don't actually create a task itself. Maybe this is a form submission or a change request, something where they're requesting it and we want to augment that data a little bit. But we could have an automation that runs that actually creates the task record for us. There's so much potential. And I think this is really slick because we could have someone request something, and then based off of that automation, it could automatically create the task record for them, and then they'd see it here in their project tasks. So even though we're restricted in terms of having the client not be able to perform updates, if you use this alongside of forms to capture information, you've got a lot of power at your fingertips. Okay, the last thing I want to do to bring this all together is switch to see what it's actually going to look like from the client perspective. So I'm just going to log out and log in as this user so we can see the difference. All right, I'm now logged in as my client. Now, I've given them this link directly to the client portal solution, but it's important that we actually give the right link to the view, because if I'm just on client portal, of course, we don't have client portal records. That's really not the point of us building this app. So I think it's important to make sure that you get that client dashboard and that URL, get them the actual URL to that dashboard. Now I'm here as Greg Guest, and I'm seeing only my record. So we can see that task completion has changed. I only see the specific tasks, and we can drill into these to be able to see which ones are in each status. I could create with that form to be able to say, hey, let's go ahead and create a new task. And then down here, I only see the project tasks that are relevant to me and where they're currently at in the process. And maybe I've got a PDF invoice I want to be able to download so I can click on that invoice, see where things are at. And this, my friends, is, I think, a great solution to be able to build a client portal with SmartSuite without having all the extra pieces needed for a third-party solution. So I hope this has been helpful for you to see how we can create a portal directly inside of SmartSuite natively without the need for a third-party solution. Now, of course, these third-party solutions are going to have additional functionality, so I'm not trying to dissuade you from using them, but I think it's good to think about how can we accomplish the needs for our clients right now inside of the solution with the tools that we have available to us. Now, if you have any questions or you need help getting set up with SmartSuite, feel free to reach out to our website at automationhelpers.com, where we're offering a free 30-minute consultation.